发型这件事啊，虽然不见得能够增进专业性，但确实是能够让人印象深刻。例如苹果软体部门老大 Craig Federighi， 他的外号就叫飞机头1号，但我现在才发现要讲的内容好像不是这个。Matthew Walker 除了是改善圈中发型最酷炫的大神以外，基本上他就是当代睡眠科学说一不二的权威。他的大作 Why We Sleep 可以说是探讨睡眠的科普圣经，同时他也是我们敬爱的 Huberman 博士的好友。不过我今天要讲的都跟这些无关，今天要先来探讨一下春药。哦不，如果你有印象的话，早年电视广告时不时会夹杂一些男性专用补给品，那不免俗的总是会有一对看似夫妻的男女共枕眠的情节，那具体是要表达什么，不言而喻。至少它里面传达的一种社会观念就是干紧后困到顶。然而这种观念并不科学，甚至某种程度上会破坏伴侣间的感情。那究竟是怎么一回事？且听伯克莱大学教授 Matthew Walker 解析。Real Life Kaizen 将为大家把英语圈的生活改善新知，定期以超浓缩加划重点的形式制作成影片，供各位朋友参考及分享。您的支持是我持续做这个节目的动力，喜欢的话请务必订阅、点赞、按小铃铛哦。
Because we are a tribe species, there is something else that we call your chronotype. Are you a morning type, evening type, or somewhere in between? And by the way, you don't get to decide. It's hard-coded. We know that right now there's at least 22 different genes that dictate morning type, evening type, or somewhere in between. And it's about a third split across the population.A split. Why are we nicely spread out across our chronotypes? Because when we're in a tribe, if we all sleep at the same time, we're all vulnerable for 8 hours. But if you were to insert some genetic variability into when people have a desire to sleep, everyone gets their 8 hours of sleep, but the entire tribe is only vulnerable for maybe just 2 or 3 hours. It's a clever solution that Mother Nature has come up with when everyone, at least as a collective, is sleeping. One of the things that couples will cite if they break up, usually about a third of them will cite sleep difficulties as a cause of their breakup. When you double click to say, okay, then what is it about this sleep kind of tension between the two of you? One of those things is a mismatch in chronotype.
前面 Walker 博士首先讲解了一下实行的概念，那也正是这种基因遗传使得人类作为一种部族动物，能够在彼此拥有不同睡眠时间的情况下，保证群体的安全。不过几千年过去了，人类已经从担心被野兽吃掉，变成担心被投资诈骗集团骗走退休金的状态。那实行又是怎样影响夫妻感情呢？让我们继续听下去。
This is why I often speak about the notion of what's called a sleep divorce to prevent a real one. It's not for everyone. A sleep divorce is where you sleep in separate locations. And when we've surveyed people, 1 in 4 people will say that they sleep in different locations with their partner. We think it's potentially an underestimate because if you survey people anonymously, a third of them will report waking up in a different location the next morning.Part of the reason that it's a taboo is because people think if we're not sleeping together, then we're not sleeping together. The exact opposite is true, that when a couple is sleeping well, we know that sex hormones are improved. We also know that your desire to be intimate with your partner is increased. What we found is that for an hour of extra sleep, if a woman gets an hour of extra sleep, her libido desire to be intimate with her partner increases by 14%. I want to just remove that notion of the stigma of if you're not sleeping together, you're not sleeping. It's usually quite the opposite. I would say that part of the challenge, though, is if we look at all objective measures, if I measure your sleep and the sleep of your wife, when you're sleeping separately versus when you're sleeping together, it's very likely that objectively you will both be sleeping worse when you're sleeping together. That's what the science tells us. However, what's interesting is that when you survey people and say, how satisfied are you with your sleep, which is a subjective measure, people will say, I'm actually more satisfied with my sleep when I'm with my partner than when I'm sleeping alone. So there's a mismatch here. And of course, it's natural. There is safety, there's security in co-sleeping. There is sort of connection that we get. You can approach it if you want. Just be honest with yourself and be honest with your partner. And you can start by saying, look, this isn't forever. I just want to say, let's do an experiment and see how it goes. It doesn't need to be permanent, because what you actually miss are the bookends of sleep. For the most part, the two of you are not conscious for most of the experience of sleeping together. It's really getting into bed and sort of having a kiss or a cuddle and sort of waking up together in the morning. And so you can still have a sleep divorce, but you can set up a system where you will go in and you'll say your good nights. And you'll kind of get into bed, have a kiss and cuddle, and then you retreat to a separate location.
结论就是因为人的生物习性导致不同时型的人可能互相影响睡眠品质，这是不以婚约而改变的，甚至可能反而因为世俗的框架弄巧成拙，但这并不表示本节目鼓励大家各玩各的啊。如果没有其他问题，真的只是睡眠时间差，建议可以试试 Walker 教授的方法。希望各位都幸福美满，天长地久。我们下期再见。